What's up, everybody? It's Dusty the Gnar with Backstage Guitar, and this is The Green Room. What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Green Room. This is episode 2, and here with me today I've got my good buddy Jason Martz. He's the guitarist in my cover band, and I've played in how many bands with you over the years? Probably 5 or 6.
Different durations. Something.
Jason has played in a multitude of musical experiences and is a guitar teacher himself. So welcome to The Green Room, Jason.
Thank you.
How long have you been playing guitar?
35 years now.
And
like that.
Did you take a break at all?
No.
Just played 35 years straight, huh?
Yeah, my parents were...
Fingers must be sore.
I've pretty much done something guitar related for the whole time. I mean, I've never taken a hiatus. I've never stopped.
How did you get started?
I saw Kiss Alive 2, Ace Frehley, the back of the picture, and he just looked so cool, and he literally is the reason why I play guitar.
So you just, asked your parents for a guitar and...
I hounded them and hounded them and hounded them, and eventually, I'm not sure why they went or gave me the green light, but I would talk to them about it all the time, but eventually my dad said, if you want a guitar so bad, cut your hair, because I had hair in high school, I had long hair, and I went, all right.
He didn't think you were
going to trying to call my bluff, and I called his bluff, so.
Wow.
They were true to their word, and I think within like a few weeks, we were at the guitar store buying one.
Really? That's awesome. So, you picked it up, and did it come naturally to you, or did you struggle?
I mean, of course I struggled, but at first I thought leads weren't accessible.
Yeah, just kind of out of
reach. Yeah, you
reach.
watch videos and it's, dudes are just like, no, that's like I'm doing, power chords. So that I actually at first was thinking I would just be a rhythm player, and I went towards people like Izzy Stradlin of Guns N' Roses. I was a huge fan of his at first, just because if you listen to like those albums, it's kind of like the Rolling Stones, where there's like these cool, one guitar player is doing something this year, and you kind of have that
kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Izzy, like if you really narrow down what Izzy's playing, he plays some like Slash is awesome, but Izzy plays some really cool. He was a big part of that guitar sound for sure. So people like that. I liked, obviously like everybody does like Metallica, and I remember seeing my dad's records of like Jimi Hendrix. I used to just sit and look at like that, cover like with Purple Haze and stuff, that yellow with like purple, and just think like, what the hell is this? It just looks so cool.
Yeah.
So I got fascinated, I caught up in all that, of course, but yeah, at first I would say leads would be the, I just thought that I would never get to that.
So what did you do to kind of get yourself there? I mean, did you take lessons? I
took lessons for maybe like 6 months, and got to the point where I just figured I could just do this much, because I was doing so much, playing by ear. That helped a lot too. There wasn't tab when I started, so I had to sit down and actually, I was so devoted. Like once I would start a song, if I wanted to play the song, I tried so hard as much to get 100% of the song as I could, rhythm-wise anyway. I would try to get through rhythms. The leads I didn't care about at all, but I just tried to get from, the beginning to the end of the song 100% rhythm-wise.
So just pushing yourself the whole way, and
my parents would always say that I never put the guitar down. Like I walked around with it 100% of the time, which is probably pretty true.
That weird kid walking around the neighborhood with his guitar again.
He put on a jacket.
So when did you start considering yourself a guitarist?
Probably not until Wicked Innocence, because we were actually, I was actually in a band that was practicing every day, like literally every day we practiced. So
we should mention Wicked Innocence. That was
I joined in
a death metal band in Utah, and you were signed to Headfucker Records.
At first it was Napalm Records, and they sold it to Headfucker.
Right.
For the second album, but
So what was that like? I mean, you're going from playing in your parents'
awesome.
your parents' basement to like you're in a signed band.
Well, before that though, I did play. I had a friend who played drums, and Avery, Avery who played bass, and we did that like a high school band. So that was actually my first experience of actually playing in front of people. Was at a school show, like talent show. I don't really like a talent show. I guess it was sort of like a talent show, I guess, but I remember. Well, I'll tell you, that's right there is the reason why I can't stop playing, or playing live is like such an adrenaline rush now.
Mm-hmm.
Because backstage before you're playing, I was like, oh my god, just like
backstage.
Yeah, I was right here, and I'm like, who is this guy? But
they can't see the sign off camera. Backstage.
It's there. It's there. But we're backstage, like, you know, hearing the people go, whatever they were doing, and I'm just thinking, you know, oh my god, we're gonna play live. We're the whole school.
Yeah.
And as soon as that, we went up to play, I'm like, and as soon as that curtain dropped, and I started going, whatever they were playing, it was just like, dude, this is awesome. And ever since that day, 15 years old or 16 years old, since that day, like that, you can't, if you never played live, you can't duplicate that. You can't duplicate that, and that's like the rush that just keeps you going. Like I could do this, you know, until I can't anymore. You know.
Well, you've played a ton of live shows, but let's talk about the different experiences you've had musically. Because man, you've been in death metal bands, you've been in nu metal bands, you've been in acoustic duos with your boy. You've been.
I did the Lauren project after Wicked, which was like an acoustic. He played acoustic, I played electric. That was kind of like that.
Yeah, Orion Clock, right? And then let's see, what else have you done? You've done
did a country gig?
Musicals. You did a country gig. You've sat and played through Jesus Christ Superstar,
which was amazing. Which I never thought I would think that was that cool. That was a cool.
Yeah, getting to read a book and
that pushed me there.
Yeah, and gosh, and then you've been in a cover band for a long time. Original.
Thanks
bands.
to you.
Well, you're welcome. Also, I don't know if you remember, we discussed me getting 10% at the beginning of that. But, quite a help.
I owe you some money then.
Yep, you heard it here first, folks. Jason owes me money, and this is where I'm putting him on the spot.
That's what this whole thing's about. That camera's not even running, is it?
I got it.
It's not even plugged in.
Anyway, so you've been in a ton of different musical experiences, and do all of them give you that same adrenaline rush? Are they all cool, or is some of them, like, I don't know, what do you want to say about the differences between them?
Well, they're all challenging, of course, and I've always prided myself on being a guitar player, not just like a genre player. Like and I think that helps music-wise too. I think if you're, like, don't start a band if you all listen to Metallica, and you're gonna sound like Metallica. You need somebody who, like, of course, if you all like Metallica, it's great, but you need to have other influences, like, you know, Metallica, you need to have other, like, pop stuff. I mean, it's just so you have a different, everyone's coming in with different ideas. It's not just all, you know, Blackened, you know. That's going to sound like Blackened if you're playing that. But I think that's the one thing. I want to be able to be in any situation and be able to perform, you know, be able to play and contribute. So
how do you achieve that? I mean, you learn the ins and outs of metal first, I'm assuming in your case. But what did you do to achieve, you know, every time you go to a different project, it's in a different style. I mean, is that challenging, switching like that and developing more as a guitarist? Yeah, I think that every time I play in whatever project, it's still me, you know. So I'm still bringing to the table what like what I was just saying, like you got to bring, like, your style into it, and that's what's going to give it a dynamic with everybody playing. But yeah, definitely. Metal was, you know, completely different than doing the acoustic stuff, but they're both challenging, I think, for sure. Well, we met in what year? Must have been 2003 or 2004. I think it was 4 or 5. Working at a local guitar shop, and we stared our acoustic duo, our acoustic instrumental duo. Yeah, almost right away. And back then, I would say that we were pretty heavily influenced by metal. But do you think audiences would have thought that? I mean, nah. Because we tried to tout it as like we were doing, like, you know, the Al Di Meola, like, Mediterranean, like, in the vein of. I mean, it was kind of down that vein, but yeah, we weren't that. You know, it was not that. But again, there's our interpretation. But to your point, yeah, it still sounds like it wasn't. Still has your metal influence. So you would say you can bring ideas from these different genres into new genres, and there's points that you know, lines connect. Yeah, I mean, it's all done on the guitar, you know. So that's true. You bring your style and then try to see what's being played and try to fit it into that. Because I mean, going back to Wicked, like, when I first joined that band, I wasn't into death metal or like grindcore like they were. The heaviest stuff I was listening to at that time would have been like Slayer or like Sepultura. And, you know, I never heard of bands like Cannibal Corpse or Carcass, you know, those bands like Suffocation, those kind of bands that they were into. So
luckily, when I went down to the gig, the drummer, he goes, "So you're into metal, man?" And I went, "Yeah." And he goes, "Thank God he didn't say, so what are you into?" Like, what?
Yeah, like, what bands?
Because I'd have been like
Nirvana, Pearl Jam.
So, but at that time, I was big into, like, even though I was playing in Wicked Innocence, I was listening to Caius a lot. I was listening to, again, like Slayer and stuff. So I had a metal edge because I was playing that stuff, but I was into, like, Led Zeppelin. I was hearing that tons of times, on the way to leaving practice, listening to Caius and Led Zeppelin. So, I mean, I was bringing those influences in, how I would think they would approach it or something, and making it metal. Matter of fact, after one show one time, a guy came up to me after and went, "Dude, that's awesome lead playing over this stuff because it's not what you hear." And I thought that was a cool compliment because that's what I was striving for,
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's how new styles are born, I guess.
Right.
But you went from that project into, I guess, what you would call a new metal band.
Well, I did the Lauren thing after that.
Oh yeah, you did Orion Clock,
which was that was like a complete 180.
Mm-hmm.
But then Down the Sun, I moved to Kansas City.
Yeah, you did Down the Sun, the new metal thing. So they had already been signed to Roadrunner, right? And then you kind of got in with that, and so that must have been a big difference going from like these hyper all over the place riffs to kind of what more industrial sound. Yeah.
And that's another band, like another genre I really wasn't into. Matter of fact, I was kind of anti that just because, coming from that school, because at that point I was now listening to the heavier stuff, and to me, that wasn't Suffocation. That was like a sellout, or something. So I had a hard time with that. But once I got down, like I actually worked with Lance, the bass player, and basically the main dude of Down the Sun. I worked with him, a musician's friend, and kind of hooked up. And when I went to practice, it ended up being cool because I could bring my influence, so it wasn't 100% Down the Sun. And I kind of wish at that point that we shouldn't have gone with Down the Sun. I think we should have just said, prior members of, and done something else. Because I think we kind of pigeonholed, and we weren't that. Because I would think, like, looking back, like if I was a fan, like imagine like you're a fan of Nirvana, and all of a sudden, it's the only guy left is the bass player or something, you know what I mean? And now it's like a new singer and a new drummer who does different kind of stuff, and it's like, this isn't Nirvana, like you could say I'm the previous drummer of Nirvana, but don't be Nirvana, you know what I mean? I think we shouldn't have done that. We kind of did that with Wicked too, because I left Wicked for a couple of years and then came back, and it was like me and Travis, the drummer, and a new bass player and a new singer, and it wasn't really Wicked anymore. It was guys from it, but it was one guitar now, not two. It wasn't the same.
Well, I mean, bands evolve, but to your point, lesson learned, change the name if you're going to go
if you're not like 85%.
But that's something that you've kind of made a career of, is going down a different route and taking things in new directions.
I've been lucky.
You seem really good at selling yourself on, I wouldn't call it fake it till you make it, but in a way it's saying, I can play death metal, I can play, and then you dive in and do it. Yeah,
because I figured just get into the band and learn their riffs. That's basically what I did. Like I at that point, I'm not anything to them but a guy trying out. So I learned their stuff and saw how it was going, and then I listened to because they when I joined that band, they had that EP out, Anthropological Infestation. It was an 8-song demo. They had it done with a different guitar player. They had kicked him out, and they were going as a 4-piece for a while with no leads. It was just LeVar playing rhythms through the whole thing, and I'd heard the leads, and I was just like, this can be better. And I just, I don't know how I got that. Maybe they went in and they gave me an edit of like no leads, and I just went in and wrote my own. I just kind of like did it. I mean, at the time, I didn't know how to play fast. Like I didn't know how to do like, I was doing like more like tremolo picking to sound fast. And that was my first like trying to get into that until I learned on later that you can actually, play and make your fingers do, scales like that. But at that time I didn't know scales. It was all I would take the rhythm and just play it over and over again and try to make, because first of all, playing over metal is hard anyway, because you're hearing riffs that just it's not following a chord, there's no, you're playing chromatic at that point.
Yeah, you can't really bust out the pentatonic scale.
Right. So I would try to find things that fit or sounded cool. That kind of like, it might not have made any sense scale wise, but it fit. And that's kind of how I did it at first. I took all what I could muster at that point and just tried to make it fit. And eventually I got better. Like the second time I was playing more,
Well, so that's one thing I've noticed about your playing in the time that I've known you. You did kind of go from, you playing fast metal stuff, you're playing like really blistering leads, to kind of slowing down and thinking more about your note choice and your phrasing. And as we were chatting off cam, you kind of mentioned that when you talk to your students that you tell them something about that.
Yeah, I do. It's when I get to the lead part of the solo, because sometimes it takes a while to get to that level when you're starting to play leads. But I always tell them that, like, just like when you talk to someone, you know a bunch of words, but you don't have to say every word you know to get an idea across. So if you know a scale, you don't have to play every note of the scale over and over again to get your point across. Like if you're hearing a chord, you don't have to use what's there over the chord and make that your focus.
Right. So if we're talking about guitar, following your metaphor, we don't have a conversation that goes headstock, tuning machines, frets, fretboard. We don't just say everything related to guitar. We take our time and form our thoughts. Right. I think that's great advice. I mean, that's something I try to do myself is, play over the chord you're playing over. And I think that's...
you actually helped me with that too. I mean, that's something I kind of learned from playing, because I guess I should say that too. Like from every project you do, you learn something. So when we got together, I still wasn't really playing, I knew like how the scales worked and stuff, but I wasn't thinking. I remember you telling me, like, when we record stuff, you would say, like, try to make, especially when we got to because we started doing like a electric project too. And when we got to that, you would say, I started thinking about more because you would bring it up to say, try to play more over the chord, like, make it, instead of just saying a bunch of stuff, make a statement. It was like kind of like what you were saying. So I kind of learned that too.
Yeah, and I got that from my uncle, who's a great guitarist. He, he was the first person that kind of hipped me to the idea of, yeah, you're in the key of C major, but right now you're playing over an F chord. So, what is the note D saying about that F chord? Or what is the note E saying about that F chord? And, they do say something, but are you saying them intentionally?
Yeah, that's a good point too. That's a good way to look at it.
Well, that's, that I think was one of the big roadblocks that I had in my playing. So, that's definitely something that I talk to students about too. I think that's just a great way to put it. Is, you don't just throw out your whole vocabulary.
That's almost kind of what you were just saying a second ago about the headstock and too many words. Now, when the chords do change, what you were just a second ago playing might be too much words over the F. So you need to change that conversation.
So, you've obviously got a ton of stage experience under your belt. You've played 1 or 2 shows with me. How is playing on stage different than just playing at home?
Well, one thing that even after playing for 35 years and playing a lot of shows, you don't think about is you sit at home like this, playing, and all of a sudden when you stand up, it's a completely different angle.
Yeah.
And
we talked about that in the show the other day.
Yep. So you might get used to sitting like this with your elbow cocked at a certain, but all of a sudden when you're playing now, it feels different and it might get tight. It just, that's a huge thing. Another thing is, obviously there's adrenaline when you're playing live. You have to learn to, luckily we have a good drummer that can.
We do. Rich Degner, he's a killer drummer. He's helped us through a lot of dicey situations.
He's so good that you don't even have to think that he's back there. It just happens. But that's a huge thing too. Like if you when you're at home, it might be because you don't have the adrenaline rush. When you get live, it might all of a sudden find yourself, especially when you go back and listen, think like, my God, how are we playing that so fast?
So what kinds of things do you do to mentally deal with the, a little surprise comes at you on stage and
you just keep going.
You're taking that in the moment.
You just keep going. That's a huge, you don't stop. But that way, we've been playing together for years, and we can play a song we've been playing 100 times, and all of a sudden you're thinking about something. And a big one for me, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but have you ever been playing and an audience member will do something like it just all of a sudden it snaps you out of oh, that's weird for me.
Oh, it takes you out of the moment.
Yeah, because it just takes your attention just for a second. All of a sudden it's something changes.
Yeah, so committing things to muscle memory is probably one of the biggest You know?
Yeah, I still practice those songs. Like before we play.
Oh, I do too. Practice all the time.
Like before, like if we don't play for like a week or something and a show comes up, I almost run through the entire set because I'm looking at it from, I don't want to sound egotist, but like with the guitar, I feel like that's a huge thing if it messes up. Like vocals too, obviously, but I feel like a drummer can kind of, and I don't think Dustin even is plugged in on the bass. I think he's playing with the backing track.
That's right.
So he's 100%. Yeah, and that he does. But that I was just, it's like I don't want to be playing sort of like some chord that just people go what. So I want to make sure that I'm on my game when we play. I guess that's how I look at it. That's another thing I would say too for any band that I always made sure that when I came into any project, whatever they were doing, no one was going to be waiting on me. Like, I want to make sure that I had everything down, and if something's messed up, it's because the drummer's doing it.
I've been there to practices where you show up and you're ready to go, and the singer doesn't.
Yeah.
Or
those too.
Or somebody didn't learn the whole set. Those awkward situations that I've been in, and you handle them very well, I must say. So, another thing that I wanted to ask you about is not only are you a great guitarist, you've actually become a really good singer, and you sing a lot of our band songs.
Yeah.
But when I met you, you didn't really want to sing, or...
There was two things I would never do, sing and dance.
Sing and dance.
And I've still kind of kept the dancing.
Well, we're here to talk about dancing today.
Who is this instructor?
I just think that a lot of great guitarists might be shooting themselves in the foot with certain projects because you kind of have to be an all-over musician.
Yeah.
And singing's a big part of it. I mean, there's been gigs that
it definitely helps you stand out from competition for sure. If you can sing and someone else can't,
there's been gigs that we've taken somebody in and they don't sing any songs, and it's like you really notice it when somebody can throw in a harmony or something like that.
That's huge. Yeah.
So what did you do to overcome that kind of I'm not a singer? Well, now I kind of am. Well, now I love to sing.
Yeah, that was actually a really cool progression. I never thought I would really do that. But it started with East AM.
Mm-hmm. That was our original band. We both took turns playing guitar for it, and then I played bass for it a little bit.
But they wanted me to sing backup, and I'm telling you, even with me and three other dudes that I'm friends with, when it's, just singing backup, butterflies,
just in the practice room,
yeah, like.
Hearing yourself through the mic for the first time,
and all of a sudden, like they're expecting you to say, like, just he's going, sing this note.
Yeah.
So what I did, I mean, what's this? I'm trying to think like what I sang first with our cover band. I think I was. Did I sing that at first? I sang that originally, I think. But I'm trying to think what the first song was. Like I don't know if that was the first one, but whatever.
Centerfold, maybe.
Oh yeah, that. I think that was actually. I just said one day, I'm not sure why I got the balls to do it more, but one day I was like, it would be cool. And I also thinking about how it could make myself look, stand out from when you're playing, to be able to sing some songs. That's what get the chicks. That guitar playing. But what I did was first was sing, it's like you do in the shower, put the music on and you sing and you think you're doing it. But what you learn, or what I come to find out through my, my detective work, is it's just like playing leads, really. If you're playing over a G chord, obviously, there's a melody line. So if you're playing over a G with a solo, and that sounds good, learn to sing those notes. So, we've even done that with, you've shown like backing, like harmonies like that. We've done that before where you go, play this to this, and that way I can go, and you sing the note, and then eventually when you're playing over a chord, you sing the note, and it should sound like you're playing.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that intentional practice leads to success with your endeavors?
Yes.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks. Practice. Yeah, well, practice is something that we do a lot of, but not quite as much anymore. We've been playing for a long time, and I think you can kind of get stuck in the like, well, I know the songs, I'll nail them at the gig.
Yeah.
But you've got the benefit of sitting in the lesson room with students all day.
Yeah.
Is there any advice that you give to every student that you talk to?
About anything?
Just about anything. If you had students coming in, is there one thing that you want to make sure they leave knowing after seeing you?
Well, I want to make sure that, first off, guitar playing, there's two schools of thought when I teach, because you get those, there's some people out there who are really hardcore. No, you have to show scales and you have to show chords. And it's like, yes, but a lot of times a kid comes in with a song that's like, I want to be this song is really talking to me. And if you can show them that song, their eyes light up. They don't have to know what they're doing at all right now. Like, why? I get it that eventually you don't want to just go through life playing riffs, if that's what gets you off, I guess that's cool. Nothing wrong with that either. But if you're trying to learn the instrument, if you at least get them playing something, then they might be more apt to, you can almost do it backwards. Like you can either show them a bunch of chords and theory and crap to get them up to playing the song, or you can try to play them the song and then kind of work backwards. That way they're still getting...
Kind of reverse engineering the song.
They're still getting everything. It's just... But I've never heard a teacher say, like, you can't just show riffs. It's like, that's how I learned. Like, and I'm still doing it and it works for me.
Yeah, and now we've got YouTube and we've got Chordify and all kinds of different resources for, even Instagram, you learn a ton on there. So, yeah, students can be self-motivated, and you got to just you almost got to distill it to its purest form, get them playing the guitar, and then,
right.
Yeah. So, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Is there anything you want to leave them with? This is Backstage Guitar. You've been hanging with Dusty the Gnar and Jason Martz. Make sure you check us out at corduroyband.com. Jason, can they find you at Instagram, or I'll pop your thing up under the...
We'll find something.
Yeah, we'll make you one tonight. Till next time, folks. And then, oh wait, I usually do a thing that's distracting, having you hear someone I know so well. Something about BackstageGuitar.com. That's it.